Welcome back to ScarletSprites, everyone. Going to try something a little different today, going completely unscripted. I just have not had the time to write scripts and film the way I normally do, and I'm falling behind on doing some videos and reaching out and connecting with you guys like I like to do. I have been spending a lot of my spare time in the basement working on various arcade projects because if I'm ever going to get some of that stuff done, I got to dedicate the time to that. So I thought, why not try to tie these two hobbies together? We'll go completely unscripted. I'm just going to walk through, show you various stages of completion that I'm in with some of these machines. I think there's a machine that you guys haven't seen down there too, so we'll take a look at that today. If there are things you want to see more of, call them out in the comments, and I'll revisit this and try to do a little bit more in depth if I can. But yeah, completely unscripted today. Let's head down to the basement and check things out. All right, and where else to start except Virtua Racing? You guys aren't even impressed by this anymore. You guys have seen too much of this. And the one thing I've noticed about my Virtua Racing versus the ones I've seen online, this piece is silver. I don't know if it's a cap that runs across the top of the dash here, or if it's vinyl or what, but I did buy a piece of silver vinyl, and I'm going to kind of cut this shape out and put it over top to make it look more like the original. But for the most part, you guys know Virtua Racing is done. Down the bottom here, you notice I was lazy. I did not reconnect this main seat piece back to the console. There's just a couple screws that have to go in here. But I was moving this around a lot in the basement and trying to find a space for it, and so I just never got around to it. That's really all there's left to do on Virtua Racing at this point. All right, and here is the most recent addition to the arcade basement, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. First thing I'll talk about here is the monitor. So this was pretty dim, blurry. I did a full recap on the monitor, added a new flyback. First time I've ever done that. Thankfully, everything turned out okay. Looks pretty good overall. The tube does have some burn on it, which I know is probably pretty difficult to see on this video. The gun mounts I have off, working on those. The recoil is not functioning properly. I'm pretty sure I can fix that. The control panel, actually, I was thinking I might need a new overlay, but overall, this actually looks pretty good. I mean, there's some stuff here I gotta work on getting off. I mean, it's a little faded. The Midway logo is pink, not really red, but overall, I mean, it's only original once, right? So if you go ahead and remove that and apply a new overlay, then you're cleaning it up and restoring, but it's only original once. So that kind of brings me to the big conundrum with this, and that would be the side. You can see there's a nice chunk missing out of the back of the cabinet here. So that kind of raises the question, like, what do you do with this? Because overall, the side art looks pretty good. I mean, sure, it's faded, but it's in pretty good shape. And like I just said, this is only original once. So, I mean, if I go through and remove all this, it's just such a conundrum because the whole side of this really needs cleaned up, but to tear this all apart, I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know. Same thing on this side. If you come over and take a peek, I mean, Arnold looks pretty good. Obviously, this should be red. It's seen a lot of sunlight. And then similar on the back, it's peeling. The artwork is peeling a little bit down the seam, but again, if this is, if I ever get the basement actually finished, this machine is like wedged between other ones. You don't really see what's going on behind there anyway. And then you just kind of, I need to put some new T-molding in on the side here. So I think from the front, it actually looks decent. And then what little you would see of the side, probably okay as well. So I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing what people think about that, whether or not I should bother tearing this all apart. And it's a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of money. Vinyl is not cheap to put on here. And then again, it's not really original anymore. So just kind of circle around to the back here. So here's a look inside the cabinet. This is the monitor chassis I just got done telling you I recapped and was able to get a pretty good picture out of overall. Everything on the side here, this is all original. Power supply might not be original. That looks pretty clean, but obviously the original boards and everything running the game. You can kind of see maybe in the bottom there, down here, there is the gun board. That had a few blown fuses on it. I briefly had the guns working, and then the recoil just stopped. And I know why. The wires actually on the inside of the gun ended up detaching from the gun itself. They're just old and brittle. So that should be an easy fix overall. No surprise at all to those of you who watch the channel. Here is the Geo Big Red. It's a 4-slot. You can see at the top here, I'm actually in the process of changing out some of the mini marquees. All these lights do work. These panels in here I had to replace. They're from Glow Hut. A few people have asked me about that in the past. Monitor looking pretty good overall. I just recapped this monitor as well. I got pretty bold. I get one under my belt and I get a little overzealous, but this actually had some weird vertical banding going on the left-hand side here, but with the recap, that's all gone. This did not need a new flyback. Capacitor swap was fairly simple and did the job, and this looks pretty good. I'm really impressed with how good the monitor looks on this one. Neo Geo in pretty good shape, doesn't really need anything. This is the oldest cabinet in my collection, and I've taken pretty good care of this one. A few people ask from time to time. These are IL Euro sticks that I have on here, and you'll see I've gone with the convex buttons. These are IL buttons as well with the D44 micro switches. Speaking of cabinets that do not need work, here is my Astro City. This has been pretty operational for a while now. You can see it's running NBA Jam Tournament Edition, which is a common game that you would find running on a candy cabinet, but it is JAMA wired. It's so easy to just plug and play boards on this, and I don't care what I'm playing it on. It's a nice big monitor, clean, crisp, good scan lines. Everything looks good on this. So candy cab controls for NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Hey, it's just what I'm playing right now. The other edition for this is the NBA Jam Arcade 1-Up stool. I think these are like 70, 75 bucks, but it was on sale at GameStop for 35 plus like $2 shipping or something like that. So for that, definitely give that a shot and pair it up with Tournament Edition on the Astro City. Here's another one of my earlier cabs. This is Virtua Fighter. This game doesn't get enough love in my opinion. I mean, I just love that this is one of the first 3D polygon games out in arcades. The marquee on this one, I always talk about switching out the backlight on the marquee for an LED bulb, and on this one I didn't do that. This is still the original ballast and CFL bulb and everything. You can kind of tell it has a warmer glow to it than something like the Astro City over here, which is more of a blue light coming through. I don't know, if that ever goes out, I'll obviously just put the LED bulb in there, but for now I'm leaving it as is. Cab's in pretty good shape. I did have Chad redo the monitor for me on this some time ago. You guys may have seen the video. And again, IL Euro sticks, IL buttons for this one. These are standard American concave buttons on this cabinet though. I think a lot of people are sometimes surprised. This is one of my most played cabinets, believe it or not. NFL Blitz and NBA Showtime, housed in a Midway Sports Station 4-player cabinet. This is all original artwork. To my knowledge, I don't think anyone has reproduced the Sports Station artwork for a full cab yet. I don't think this has been scanned. I might be wrong on that, but the last time I looked, it hadn't been. But this is a full dedicated cab, full side art on here. Most of these were conversions back in the day. There's like a portrait type sticker that would just get slapped on the side here that had Blitz and Showtime, and this was all like painted black. Usually it was an NBA Jam or a Hang Time cabinet or a Blitz cabinet that they would upgrade to these. But this is one of the few that's actually dedicated and original. I did a few upgrades on this. I have a whole video on this cabinet if you guys want to check that out. Just some cosmetic things like the plexi on the control panel here. The buttons I obviously went back over and redid. The marquee up here, I upgraded the game to Gold Edition. There's compact flash running off of the board instead of the hard drive. But this is a great cabinet. I mean, it's a bit of a beast, but hopefully when all this is over, I'll be able to actually have friends over and get some 4-player matches going. All right, next I think I'll bring you over here to the work in progress corner. This is obviously Virtua Cop 2. Original side art on this one. I did just start putting new T-molding on this, so this is all fresh. The light behind this is the original backlight, so a little bit more of that warm glow that I talk about as opposed to the cooler color. I think you can actually see this is a reflection in the back, so that's how this cabinet operates. Down here is the tube facing upwards, reflecting off a back mirror to kind of give this a little bit more depth. But this game is working, it's fully operational. The guns for it, actually, let me just jump over here. Yeah, this is what things are like right now. So these are the original guns. You can kind of see these are kind of like that Judge Dredd, you know, Justifier type thing going on, which are really cool guns. As opposed to a lot of those have had to be replaced with these HAP style pistols. Now these work really well. They're a little bit more durable, but this blue model here even has like this protector around where the lens goes to kind of keep it from getting knocked. So these work really well. Those are the originals. I mean, who doesn't like that? I mean, those things are amazing. I just love the way those things look. They're very 90s. But anyways, back to the cabinet. Inside here, this is the gun board that you know, obviously reads all the signals and everything for using the light guns with the main board. That's the monitor chassis, kind of right, the bottom of the monitor chassis, kind of facing us because of that mount. And that whole thing down here, you can kind of see maybe off to the left is the actual board for Virtua Cop 2. So this is the first Virtua Cop that I actually picked up. You have to trust me that it works, but I don't have it plugged in right now. The guns, we kind of already talked about these being the HAP style. I had to replace those. My original plan for this, you can see this has no original side art on the side here. I was going to kind of like strip this and then put some House of the Dead artwork on the side, change out the marquee. The marquee for House of the Dead I actually have laying over here. It's a reproduction, but I don't know, time is just kind of getting away from me, and at this point I don't know that I'm actually going to be converting this to House of the Dead. I think I'm going to probably finish cleaning this whole thing up and probably list it for sale. This will just end up being my Virtua Cop 2 dedicated cabinet, and when I feel like it, I'm not going to be lazy. I will just swap the boards out. This also here, I should call attention to this. This is vinyl, so I'm going to use that across the front of this to kind of clean this up a little bit. Found that vinyl has come in handy a lot for replacing and repairing different parts of these machines and giving it a clean look without having to do a lot of other work outside of a little bit of Bondo and sanding. So we kind of already looked at some of this stuff. This is just where I have parts from things that I'm working on that are in flight. You go up here. These are the guns for Terminator that I took apart, cleaned, have those drying. A few boards for the Sega machines, some drive boards, and a soundboard there for Virtua Cop. And up here I've got a spare, I think that's a K7000 monitor chassis, some caps and things in there. Hopefully I'll get to that and repairing some of these at some point. And much like Virtua Racing, you guys aren't even impressed by Big Blue anymore. I'm not even going to bother turning this on. I've done so many videos on this recently. You guys already know what's up with this one. All right, and the last arcade on the basement tour today, Daytona USA. This was, well, it's turning out to be the best $400 I've ever spent. so we were just talking about the vinyl a little bit, and that's what this orange is here, and on the bottom, that's reproduction vinyl. The original side art, well, this piece of the center is still original, but the top pieces were pretty dinged up, so I ended up removing those with an X-Acto knife and then just putting new vinyl over to kind of clean that up a little bit. You can see the main marquee is up and working. That is a 4-foot LED tube going across there. And you'll also notice the race leader lights are also bouncing back and forth. In the past, when I first got this one here was not doing that. It was just on constantly. And the reason for that, this might be tough to see, but there's a relay inside here that, yeah, you're never going to be able to see that on this video, but that basically just had a component that needed replaced. And once I desoldered that and put a new one on, just Google part numbers, found a replacement, and the race leader lights are up and working. This monitor here that you're looking at has not been recapped. Nothing has been done to it. Overall, it looks pretty good. I'm probably not going to mess with it right now. This one had vertical collapse, and my go-to Chad at Arcade Cup cleaned that up and fixed it for me, so that's good to go. New shifters, you guys probably saw that in a video. Those are on, working. Force feedback works on the first car. It does not work on this car. Actually, you can see, that's probably one of the things you can see. The entire board's missing. I took it out because it's just not working. On this side, you can kind of see where that 84 is lit up down there in the bottom. That is the drive board for force feedback. The gameplay is just fine without it, but obviously it's cooler if you do have force feedback. That's something that I'll be either looking to get that board repaired, or hopefully I can find a new one in the future. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good find for $400 overall. Need a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of work, lights, some things, but yeah, it's a twin Daytona. And that is the state of the arcade in the basement. Again, feel free to call anything out that you saw, you have questions about. I'll try to answer them in the comments. If you want to see more of a certain machine, maybe I can dedicate a full unscripted video to that too. Thanks so much for watching today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.